Hi guys and welcome back. In this video we are gonna see how Airflow handles failed tasks. So to do this we are gonna kind of force one task to fail and we're gonna see how the UI behaves when this happens. So let's get started. This is something that I was having from the previous video. It's basically a very basic tag with two tasks. A first Python operator running this function and the second Python operator kind of running the same function. So what we want to do right now is to force the first task to fail. So let's try that and see what happens into the Airflow UI. So I'm gonna copy this one and I'm gonna call this fail always fail function. Always fail. Just always fail is fine. Gonna copy this here. So we're gonna pass different Python callable to this one. And we're gonna say raise exception. Save it up and go back to the Airflow UI that I will reopen it for you. So go to the tags, my sample tag. I'm gonna manually trigger this one. Refresh a little bit the page. Okay, it's queued. As you can see, it turned gray and then it turned red. So the task failed. If we go to click this and we can see task view log, this is something amazing about Airflow because now imagine this is actually a very simple tag. It's a very simple view. But imagine you have a very complex tag and you have many runs of this complex tags. Once you have that, it's quite difficult, usually with other softwares or even manual kind of code, to see what is exactly is the reason for the failure. So you go into the logs, you do a grep of the exception and so on. In here, you have a very nice view. You can go to the task instance that failed. You can click view log and you can see exactly what is the cause of that failure. And in this case, it's exception, of course, because we kind of raised an exception. This is exactly what we did. So uh, as you can see from the tree view now, the next task is upstream failed, which means that since there is this dependency of run this to from run this, since this one failed, this one actually didn't run and went into the state upstream failed. So if we go back to this code, now I'm gonna kind of switch this a little bit. Instead of saying always fail, we're gonna fail randomly. So we're gonna say, um, we're gonna import random. So import random. And we're gonna say if random dot random is less, actually it's greater than 0.7, we're gonna raise an exception. Otherwise, we're gonna just print I am okay. If we save this and go back to the Airflow, and I'm gonna trigger this tag several times now and see what happens. So as you can see, I scheduled 6 runs and the tree view is behaving as expected. So it has queued some of these. Now these ones are all basically succeeding. So that's my luck. Gonna trigger a few more just to make it fail. Okay, so now that I have triggered a few, and as you can see, actually something is failing. Let's give it a second to kind of complete, but maybe if you go here, you can already see that you have this raise exception. And there is something interesting that I want to show you is how Airflow we can kind of clear a task to make it run again. So this one's actually failed, if I click on it and I do clear and I click OK, and I will do the same for this one and refresh the page a couple of times. Now, it is of course a random, so it's a little bit of a chance, but basically now it happened that it succeeded. So what is Airflow really good at is the fact that you can retry a task at any point in time by clearing it, and it will just rerun. Um, Now the very interesting thing is that we did this manually, but Airflow can provide a mechanism to do this automatically, and I will show you how to do that. The most important thing in this case is that a task has to be idempotent. So it means that if you actually retry it, it has a chance for retrying. Otherwise, if it's not idempotent and maybe a second retry is not feasible, it's not possible, then you kind of lose this very important concept in Airflow that you can retry tasks at any point in time. So let's read a little bit more about the base operator. The base operator is the base class for all operator, and the Python operator that we have used before actually inherits, extends this base operator, as you can see from here. So this is source code for the Python operator, and as you can see, it kind of extends the base operator. What we want to kind of do now is to make this well, I'm gonna call this randomly fail just for my sanity. Once we call this randomly fail, we can safely continue. And if we go to base operator, we can see that it takes a lot of parameters. Some of these are optional, but we will specify and focus on two of them. The first one that we want to kind of see is the retries, which is the number of retries that should be performed before failing the task. And this one, the default kind of parameter value is to get the configuration value for default task retries. So as I am using Docker, I will show you how to look into this real quickly. If I do a Docker PS and I kind of execute interactively the bash command into my Airflow web server container, I can kind of see this Airflow CFG where I have all my configurations. And if I do a cat Airflow CFG and I grep the retries, you can see that default task retries is equal to 0. So this means that the default value that is being passed to the base operator right now for my kind of configuration is 0. So this task will be retried 0 times. We will change this to make it try a little bit more. So we're gonna change this to retries equal to 10. And the second parameter we will look into a little bit more is this retry delay, which is the delay between retries. What is the kind of value here is 300 seconds. So it will take 300 seconds before actually retrying the actual task. Uh, since I do not want to wait so much, I will paste this, but I will change this to 1 second. And I'm gonna import time delta. Once we have this and we save, we are set. Why am I doing all this? So if we read this code a little bit, it means that this will randomly fail with a chance of 0.3, right? So maybe because if it's greater than 0.7, then we're gonna raise an exception. So with a 30% chance, an exception will be thrown. Otherwise, it's just gonna print OK and succeed the task. Now, if I'm putting 10 retries for this particular task, it means that even though it fails with a 30% time, at some point in time, it will retry it 10 times before actually saying that that task is failed. So what will actually happen is that it will go into an up for retry kind of state first, and then it will try again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger this tag a few times and refresh. And hopefully, even though the chance is not too great, so it's just 30%, eventually this will fail and it will go into the up for retry kind of state. There we go, something happened already, so we are lucky. Now this is up for retry. This means that if we refresh this, now it succeeded. So and you can see if you click on the tree view for that particular task run, you can clearly see that you have 2 attempts and you can browse the logs by attempt. You can download it or you can say view log. And in here you can see that in the first attempt for this task it failed, while in the second attempt it succeeded. This is very interesting because basically what we are saying is that we are giving Airflow the freedom to kind of retry these tasks 10 times before actually marking it as failed. And this is very important in production systems because maybe if you make these tasks as idempotent as possible and you kind of give some retries to the freedom to Airflow to retry these tasks, many things that will fail will eventually succeed and make your life easier. So that's it for this video and I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.